Welcome, Star Wars fans, and I'm glad you made it here because this is the way. I am Master E, and today we will be reviewing the first part of Star Wars The High Republic Light of the Jedi. So first off, this is just an amazing book, and I'm only 8 chapters in, so this is going to be a review of the first half of Part 1, chapters 1 through 7. So let's start with Chapter 1. We start with a woman named Hedda Cassett. She is a captain of a ship called the Legacy Run. It's a massive transporting ship, and right now it's transporting a lot of people. And this chapter just really talks about her and the ship. And then toward the end, it gets to actually what is important, which is they're traveling through lightspeed, and there seems to be something in lightspeed that's in the way. And basically, the chapter ends with they're gonna hit whatever's in hyperspace, and that's about where chapter 1 ends. Not a lot of important things, just the ship on its way to crash. So chapter 2, we get to we learn about a man, Mervyn Getter, and he is working on a scan patrol. Basically, he's just checking the scanners basically for his planet, and we learn about his love interest, Sella. Basically, he sees something coming into the scanners, and he doesn't know what it is. It seems to be a lot of different things coming down pretty heavily. And obviously, it causes for alarm, and we all know that this is the ship, the Legacy Run, coming and crashing into their system of planets and moons. So it's not good. Chapter 3, we get a look into Minister Eka. He is the minister in the Prime world. He's basically like the head honcho kind of a guy. He runs this place, and he hears about the distress signal that Mervyn Getter puts out, and so he sends out his message for everyone to just get off-world as much as they can, because they're seeing that this whatever, they don't know what it is, they call it an anomaly. This anomaly that's crashing toward their system of planets and moons is destroying things. A lot of the scan stations have gone down, and it's just a big deal. He's just trying to get everyone off-world. He sends a message and says, everyone get off-world as much as you can. Some people take it seriously, some people don't. And a lot of people, they do take it seriously, but they don't have a way to get off-world. And then, which leads us to the end of Chapter 3, where they get a transmission, the Minister does, and it is none other than the Jedi, and specifically Jedi Master Avar Kriss. And that leads us right into Chapter 4, where it all talks about Avar Kriss, who is a Jedi Master, and she is coming to aid and help in any way that she can. It's pretty awesome. It was cool to see. They talk about the hope that just gets instilled when they hear that the Jedi are coming. It's just cool to go into this timeline that we don't really know about, and just the hope that the Jedi bring. It's really cool. But yeah, Chapter 4 just talks about Avar coming, and yeah, she's coming with help in the form of other Jedi and more ships to either transport or just restore order where there's chaos. We'll see that more so in the next chapter, which is Chapter 5. And it starts talking about the Padawan Bel Zettifar and his master Loden Greatstorm. And also, for a short time, talks about their ships called the Vectors, which honestly, they just sound really cool. And honestly, the only thing I could think about when they were talking about these Jedi spacecrafts was, wow, I cannot wait to get a Lego set and build it. And yeah, that's where my mind went. But basically, these two Jedi fly down, and there's some chaos, and they are just trying to help. They see this spaceship full of people try to leave the world, and it blows up. So we just see them kind of trying to crowd management, kind of. We don't really see a lot into them. I'm sure we will later in the book. I'm only up to Chapter 8 right now. I'm sure they'll come back. And then we go into Chapter 6. Chapter 6. We see kind of there's a ship out in space, and they see the anomaly heading toward one of the scan stations, and they have missiles, and they're trying to shoot it down before it gets there. And they shoot all 6, and they have a 1 in 3 odds of hitting it, and they miss. And basically, they miss, but Captain Bright, he says, hey, they could still be alive somehow, so we're gonna go dock, and it's dangerous, but we're gonna go dock and see if we can help. And that's where the chapter ends. I'm sure all of these groups of people will come back to, but I'll explain why I think it was a good stopping point where I stopped. So then we get to chapter 7, and we see a group of Jedi, and they are just over the prime moon of this system, and there's a large piece of the anomaly, which we know is part of the ship, heading toward it and just going to blow it up. So they're all trying to get their ships together and try to blow it up before it hits the main moon. We see Jedi Tainomi. Avar Chris is back again. We see Mikkel Sutnobi. We see Nib Asik and her Padawan, and pardon me if I do not pronounce this correctly, but Bariaga Abaguri. And her Padawan is actually a Wookiee. Bariaga is a Wookiee, and I just think that's awesome because we haven't seen a Wookiee Jedi, but I just think it's cool. And then there is 2 other ones on a ship, Jaz Adran and Pika. They're just 2 contractors that offered to help when they heard this crisis. I just got completely destroyed by that battle thing. Anyway, they're so yeah. So that's all the Jedi we see, and the 2 other ones. They're not Jedi. The Jaws and Pika are just, they say they're like contractors or something. They just offered to help because I mean there's a big issue. So they're in another ship. That's actually, their guns are going to be controlled by the Jedi as they shoot at this anomaly. But some cool things that we learn, especially about Avar Chris, is that she has a special power that she detects natural bonds between Force users and strengthens them. She strengthens the bonds that Force users have to kind of use them as a communications network, which is really cool, especially right now as they're all trying to sync up and shoot this thing down. It's just a cool power that we haven't really seen. I'd like to see how it's used more. I mean, we don't know a lot about it right now, but I'm excited to see more of Avar Chris and what that kind of is used for. But yeah, so they're trying to shoot down this anomaly, and they're all lined up, and there's this point where they can sense the fear of the Padawan Bariaga, and they're like, well, can we take this pressure off him and say it's not on you? So he kind of takes a step back, and then they're about to fire onto the anomaly that's headed for the moon, and you hear Bariaga just starts screaming, kind of like yelling, like in panic. And they're like, what's the issue? Because none of them speak Wookieese except for Nib Asik, his master. And so they're asking Nib, they're like, what's he saying? And then she eventually figures it out, that the fear that they were sensing, Bariaga was feeling it from something else. And they're like, what does that mean? And he was feeling it from this anomaly that's headed toward the moon. And he says, and Nib, his master, translate that there's still people on that. So that's kind of when we confirmed that, yeah, that's the ship. I mean, we were all thinking it, but now we know that that's the ship, and there is still people on board. They lived through whatever crash they had, and they are headed straight toward that planet. So they're at a crossroads. Do they save the moon or this? I mean, do you try to get the ship out of the way or try to board it and get people off slowly? I don't know what they're gonna do. But that's the end of chapter 7. That's when they find out that there's people on board that Bariaga senses. And that's where it ends, and I felt like that was a good stopping point to end the review. And we could talk about predictions if you have also up to this point and you're curious. I'm curious. I don't know what they're going to do. I think we will dive into all these stories again with Loden Greatstorm and Captain Bright boarding the scan station. I think we're going to hop into all these again, which is very, because I'm curious to see what's going on in all of them too. But honestly, obviously, the biggest thing is, what are they going to do about that? Are they going to shoot it down to save the moon, or are they going to try to get them out of there? They don't have much time. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm very curious to see what happens here. I'm excited to get back into the read, and we will do a review for the second part of part 1, chapters 8 through 16. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe, and a share would go a long way as well. And if you have any thoughts on what's going to happen, or just on the chapters that have happened and what you enjoyed, leave them in the comments below. I loved reading through those. So thank you for watching. That is the end of today's review, and may the Force be with you.